Now today, we're actually beginning a brand new series that I'm super excited about. It's called You're Not the Boss of Me. You're Not the Boss of Me. And the subtitle is How to Say No to the Emotions That Compete for Control. How to say no to the emotions that compete for control. And the good thing is this, we all have this in common. None of us really enjoy being told what to do, whether it's an emotion inside of us or it's a person outside of us, but none of us enjoy being told what to do. And we discovered this very early in life. If you're a parent, you know that it's sort of built into human beings not to want to do what they're told to do. You have to kind of discipline the no out of your kids. But this just isn't a child thing. This is an adult thing too, because the truth is, for all of us, we don't get in trouble because we won't take advice. Most of the time, we get in trouble because we take our own advice. And our own advice is always, there's no way around this, our own advice is always filtered through the emotions that distort reality for us, or our sense of reality. This is why people look at you and say, "You did what?" And then you look at you later and go, "I did what? What was I thinking? What was going on? Why did that happen?" Because there is in us a tendency to take our own advice, and our own advice always gets filtered through our emotions and our distorted view. In fact, it actually distorts our view or distorts our sense of reality. So thus our subtitle, this is a how-to series, How to Say No to the Emotions That Compete for Control. Now I want you to think for just a moment, then we're going to move on. What is the primary emotion? This won't take you long. Don't answer this for anybody else, and don't ask anyone this later unless they volunteer the information. But what is the emotion that competes for control of your life? I'm going to tell you mine maybe next week or the next week, just based on how I feel, okay? But all of us have sort of a primary thing that surfaces pretty quickly, and it competes for control of what we say, what we don't say, how we say it, how loudly we say it, who we say it to, how we say it. And it also competes for control in terms of what drives our behavior. Now, here's the thing. All of us, because we're adults, we have learned to monitor our behavior. We're really good at that. We've learned to monitor our behavior so we can get job interviews. We've learned to monitor our behavior and curb our behavior so we can actually get jobs, so we can get dates, so we can get second dates, so we can get third dates, so we can get married, so we can stay married, so that we can get our parents to do what we want our parents to do. We've all learned to monitor our behavior. But Jesus, and this is why you should consider becoming a Jesus follower, even if you're not sure about everything in the Bible. Jesus invites us, and he invited his first century followers. He invites every century followers. He invites us to look past simply monitoring how we behave and begin to monitor what's going on inside of us. Now, when you hear that, I don't know how you respond to that. You may go, "Oh, duh, you haven't told me anything I don't know." Or you may be pushed back and say, no, come on, Andy. Not everything I say comes from my heart. Andy, sometimes I say things I don't mean. I think Jesus would push back. I think he might say this. What you should say is sometimes you say things you don't mean to say out loud. But you meant them, because they came out of you. And in that moment, when your behavior modification skills were, kind of weakened by an emotion or by a situation or whatever it might be, in that moment, your heart was showing. It came out of you because it's in you. How different would your life be? How different would your life be if, as a middle schooler, or maybe a high schooler, or maybe a college student, you had learned to monitor your heart and to decide that those raging emotions, whether it's for you fear or anger or envy or greed or lust or whatever it might be, what if you had learned not to allow it to be the boss of you? For some of you, imagine how different your upbringing would have been if your father had not allowed his anger to be the boss of him, or his guilt to be the boss of him, or your mom's fear to be the boss of her, or her envy to be the boss of her, or maybe her anger, whatever it might be. Imagine, for those of us with kids, if we could teach our children to monitor their hearts. I'll talk a little bit about this later if we have time, but one of the things that we did early on with our kids is when we put them to bed, we started saying before they even knew what was going on, "Hey, is everything okay in your heart? Is everything okay in your heart? You told us what happened today, but is everything okay in your heart?" And I would say, "Are you mad at anybody? Anybody hurt your feelings today? Come on, let's learn to pay attention to what's in there, because I know that what's in there is going to come out of there, just like it does for me, just like it does for you. And here's why this is so important, whether you're a religious person or not. Because there is a reality, there's a dynamic that's happening right now, whether you like any of this, understand any of this, embrace any of this. The people closest to you, listen, the people closest to you are experiencing the overflow of your heart right now, every single day. And you're experiencing the overflow of their heart as well, but you can't do anything about that. So for some of us, we need to look in the mirror, and we need to get better at monitoring our hearts than we are simply monitoring our behavior.